Curses have the ability to inflict harm or extreme bad luck onto a person. Items, songs, videos, and even rooms can be cursed. The question is, how do you avoid being cursed? Well, lucky for you, I'm about to tell you which rooms you should never enter unless you want to be cursed. Well, how's it going, YouTube? I'm your host for this one, Landon Delsing. Welcome back to a brand new video here on Most Amazing Top 10. Right now, we're producing 3 videos a day for you guys. We are overloading you guys. And if you guys want to follow me on social media, head over to Instagram and find Landon Productions and hit follow. And also, just to warn you guys, if you don't watch this entire video, you are going to be cursed. And I'm not kidding. So if I were you, I would stay tuned to the end. Alright, let's jump right into this list. This is the top 10 scary cursed rooms that you should never enter. The attic in the Riddle House brings us into number 10 on our list. Let me give you guys some background information on this haunted house. The Riddle House is located in Palm Beach County in Florida. The house used to be a funeral parlor, so I'm sure a lot of creepy things went down inside of this house. But that's not even the scary part. One of the former employees committed suicide by hanging himself in the attic. And according to all of the reports, anytime a man steps foot in the attic, his spirits will attack them. One man had an object thrown at his head, so now men are no longer allowed to go inside of the attic. I mean, I wouldn't want to step foot inside of that attic anyway, so you know what, whatever. If that wasn't enough, legend has it that the entire house is haunted, and if you go inside of it, a spirit might follow you home and haunt your house as well. I mean, yeah, no thanks. I don't want to be haunted. I don't want my house to be haunted. I want to go to my home and just be curse free and be ghost free as well. The Queen Mary sails onto our list at number 9. The Queen Mary has been voted one of the most haunted places in America, and this is by Time magazine. And after doing my research, it's easy to see why. There are countless stories of many areas of the ship that are haunted with ghosts. Visitors claim that the engine room is haunted by the ghost of a crew member who was crushed to death by a watertight door. The swimming pool is also a highly talked about area as well. People say that they can see spirits at the bottom of the pool and they are just waiting to pull someone under the water and drown them to death. If that wasn't enough, you can go on a paranormal tours of the ship, but be warned, there is a curse. It is said that each year during one of these tours, at least one guest will break a bone while on board. The Shanghai tunnels in Portland, Oregon makes their way onto this list at number 8. Did you guys know that in the 19th century, Portland was considered to be one of the most dangerous parts of America? It was primarily due to a form of human trafficking called Shanghaiing. According to the legend, con artists would prey on unsuspecting young men and they would lure them into trapdoors. The victim would then be fed into a network of underground tunnels where they would be drugged, held captive, and eventually sold to ships as slaves. Hundreds of years later, these tunnels are still intact, and it is believed that if you find yourself down there, you will be extremely confused, unable to find yourself back to the surface. You will have hallucinations, and you'll also have a ton of angry spirits who will hold you down to the point where you feel like you can't breathe. I say, if it was up to me, we fill these tunnels up with dirt and call it a day. The Banff Springs Hotel checks onto this list at number 7. This hotel was built in 1888 by the Canadian Pacific Railway. Despite its picturesque view, this hotel is plagued with angry spirits that will make your night a living hell. Some of the strange things that happened here was when a family was brutally murdered in room 873, a bride died while falling down the hotel's marble staircase, and a retired bellman apparently still haunts this hotel even to this day. But the fun doesn't stop there. The hotel has a room that is known as the Phantom Room. There was an error in the building plans which resulted in this extra room being built. It doesn't have any windows and no one knew that it existed except for the builders. But years later, during a renovation, the room is discovered and it was converted into a working room. But apparently this room is cursed. It is full of unusual sounds, strange shadows, and you will feel extremely uneasy if you go inside. Leap Castle brings us to number 6. This is probably one of Ireland's most haunted destinations due to its dark history. One of the most gruesome murders that took place in the castle occurred in 1532 in a room that is known as the Bloody Chapel. A priest was murdered in this room in front of his entire family. The castle is now rumored to be haunted by a ton of spirits, including a violent hunched beast known as Elemental. If you find yourself inside of this castle, you'll know that he is near because you can You could smell rotting flesh and sulfur, and when the castle was being renovated, workers found a dungeon that is only accessible through the ceiling hatch. I mean, how weird is that? It is believed that prisoners were thrown inside, forgotten, and left there to die. The dungeon also has a bunch of human remains and was full of spikes that were used to impale the prisoners who were thrown there to their death. Sounds like a great tourist destination, right? Yeah, I don't think so. Flight 191 takes us to number 5. We're now talking about a cursed airplane number. If you ever find yourself booking a trip, pay close attention to your flight number. Is it flight 191? You might want to consider changing your flight, and I'll tell you why. This flight has a higher than normal amount of crashes. There has been 4 commercial flights with this flight number, and they have all crashed. Another flight had an incident on board that caused the plane to divert from the flight plan. On an American Airlines flight, the plane crashed shortly after taking off in Chicago, and it killed 273 people on board. A Delta Airlines flight crashed while landing, and it killed 137 people. And a Comair flight crashed on takeoff, killing 49 people. There are a bunch of other airlines with flight numbers 191 that crashed, but I think you get the point. The San Fernando Cathedral, San Antonio, Texas jumps onto our list at number 4. We have another cursed cathedral on this list. This church was built in 1868, and it is thought to be the oldest church in Texas. Well, according to the local report, this church is plagued with angry spirits and demonic forces. People have seen hooded ghosts in monks' clothing roaming the halls on a regular basis. Or they'll also see a man dressed in black who stalks you as you explore the church. And yes, the church is still open for business, so if you're brave enough, you can attend the service. That's if you dare. I don't dare. Personally, I'm not really that big into angry spirits following me around, but that might just be me. Number 3, we have King Tut's tomb. When this tomb was discovered on November 26, 1922, people believe that the pharaoh unleashed a powerful curse of death and destruction upon those who entered his tomb. I'd be pretty pissed too if I was untouched for 3,000 years, and then all of a sudden there are a ton of people entering my tomb with tools and some lights. But let's explore this curse even further. The man who paid for the excavation of King Tut's tomb was the first one to be hit with the curse. While shaving, he accidentally tore open a mosquito bite, which caused him to die due to blood poisoning. The archaeologist who discovered the tomb gave his friend a paperweight as a gift. The paperweight was made out of a mummified hand, and it had some weird thing inscribed onto it. Well, after receiving this weird gift, his house burned down, and when he tried to rebuild it, it was hit with a massive flood. A man who visited the tomb became extremely ill, and he never really recovered. He died of pneumonia a few months later. There are a bunch of other unfortunate people who have mysteriously died after visiting this tomb, so I know one thing that is for certain. You'll never see me around this tomb. I'll be much more comfortable watching the footage on YouTube or something like that, or maybe just googling an image of what the guy looks like. Moving up on this list, number 2, we have the 600 rooms in the Cecil Hotel. You're probably really familiar with this hotel due to its dark history. It's said that all 600 rooms of the Cecil Hotel are cursed due to the murders, maniacs, and ghosts that roam inside. A bunch of serial killers used to call this hotel their home, maybe because they all felt a strange affinity to it. And over the years, a lot of guests have mysteriously died without any reasonable explanations. One of the most mysterious deaths was Alyssa Lamb. Her body was found 2 weeks after her death when people were complaining about the water tasting weird. Her body was decomposing in the rooftop water tanks for weeks. The discovery of her body led investigators to watch the surveillance footage. They saw Alyssa go onto the elevator alone, then look outside the door several times. She left the elevator, and it looked like she was having a conversation with someone who wasn't really there. And that was the last time she was seen alive. And finally, number 1, we have the Warren Occult Museum. If you know what's good for you, you'll never visit this museum, although I'm a little bit curious, but I would be pretty terrified inside of it. It is full of items that Ed and Lorraine Warren have collected over the years from their paranormal investigations. One of the most cursed items that sits inside of these walls is the Annabelle doll. I mean, everyone knows by now. She was responsible for at least one death when a young man came into the museum and challenged the doll to do its worst. And guess what? It did. Another cursed item at the museum is the Shadow Doll. This doll is said to be able to visit you in your dreams, and she has the ability to stop your heart. I mean, yeah, no thanks. And you know what? My curiosity is over. I no longer want to go visit this museum. And there you guys have it. We made it to the end of this video. I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next most amazing top 10 video.